Welcome to the worship service for Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church, or as we say, BBUUC. I'm Donna Zimmerman, the worship associate today. We continue to meet virtually for the sake of our health during this pandemic. However, that doesn't stop us from being a congregation, a community, a circle of support and friendship. We have many resources available to you. Zoom meetings, classes, virtual get-togethers for socializing. Please check out the church calendar on our website, bbuuc.org, to see the variety of opportunities for connecting with the church and your fellow members. And visit the Unitarian Universalist website, uua.org, to find out more about our denomination. And finally, at 11:30 on Sunday mornings, we have our traditional coffee fellowship time in a very non-traditional way. We will meet live on Zoom, and our minister, Reverend Amy, will join us to discuss her sermon, followed by fellowship time with other members.
The flame of our chalice today reminds us that no matter how dark it is, even a small flame can be seen as brightly as a lighthouse beacon. This light guides our way to open minds, open hearts, and yes, to open doors. It gives warmth to those who are alone or feel alone. It guides us forward on our path and helps those who will follow our footsteps. It connects us. It shows us the world and brings us home, no matter where we choose to make our home.
Good morning. I am Reverend Amy Moses Lagos, and it is my privilege to serve as the halftime contracts minister at Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church. I use the pronouns she and her. Our opening words this morning are written by Reverend Sharon Wiley. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us speak today of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you. Every part of you beautiful just the way you are. Here you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. Nothing to prove here. Nothing to prove to me or the person sitting next to you or to the children or to anyone. You don't have to try and be witty or more quiet or more outgoing. You are beautiful. Every part of you beautiful, just the way you are. You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face. All beautiful, just the way they are. You are extraordinary. Each and every one of you different from each and beautiful in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. Let us worship together.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Wonder Box. I'm so glad you're here with us. What do you think might be in our box of possibilities today? Are you ready? Let's see. It's a crayon. Huh. Do you notice anything different about this crayon? The outside label doesn't seem to match what's on the inside. The label says red, but the crayon's blue. It reminds me of the main character in the story Red by Michael Hall, a story I've adapted to share with you today from Red's point of view. Are you ready? Let's listen. Hi, I'm Red. Thanks for letting me share my story. It wasn't very long ago that I was struggling. Yes, I am Red, but here's the thing. I was never very good at being red. My teacher, Miss Scarlett, just thought I needed more practice. So she began to tutor me outside of school. Honestly, I tried my best. My mom just thought I needed to mix with other colors. So she invited Orange over and told us to go and draw a nice ripe orange. But we ended up making a big greenish orange instead. My grandparents thought I just wasn't warm. So they made me a red scarf and had me draw a self-portrait. They said, "This scarf is so you." But it really wasn't. It seemed as if everyone had an opinion about why I wasn't catching on. What was wrong with me? After all, none of the other crayons seemed to be having problems. Brown cow, green frog, black sheep, and then me. Even the other art supplies were worried. The tape thought I was broken inside, so he wrapped me up to help hold me together. And the scissors thought my label was too tight, so they gave me a quick snip to loosen it. And the pencil thought I wasn't sharp enough, so she ran me through the sharpener. But even after all of that and all my hard work, I just couldn't get the hang of it. Then one day, I met a new friend, Violet. Violet asked me if I could draw a blue ocean for her boat. I told her I couldn't, that I was red and not very good at being red at that. But she asked me to try, and I did. And it was so easy. Honestly, I couldn't believe how easy it was. I tried to draw a few other things like a blue bird, a blue whale, blue jeans, blueberries, bluebells, and I was good. And that's when I realized I'm blue. Everyone had a lot to say after that, but I didn't pay them any attention because now I've discovered for myself that the sky's the limit for me. This story really speaks to our fourth principle. We believe that each and every person must be free to search for what is true and right in life. Sometimes our truth can get buried under the labels and expectations of other people and the expectations that they place on us. I wonder, have you ever felt you needed to be something because of a label someone gave you? I wonder if you rip those labels off, what superpowers you might find underneath. And with this, our story is told. Until the next time.
This is the time in our service when we pause to create sacred space in our hearts. We pause to reflect on the recent days with joys, sorrows, fears, gratitude, and love. We recall the milestones, the changes in our lives, and those who need our healing thoughts. Our community is deepened by sharing. Today, we are sharing joys and concerns from last week and this week, because last Sunday, we had a special UU the Vote service and were unable to light the candles at that time. We light several candles this morning to celebrate last and this week's birthdays. We hope that the following folks had very happy birthdays, beginning with Ev C., who celebrated his special day on October 4th, Barry M. on the 7th, Adam D. on the 9th, and Eric Z. on the 10th. This week we celebrate birthdays for Robin R. tomorrow, the 12th. More birthday greetings for Jason C. on the 13th, Claudia M. on the 14th, And sharing a birthday on the 16th is RES and Molly B. Happy anniversary wishes go out to Ed and Linda S., who celebrated their special day on October 9th. We light a candle for Heather and Jason C., who celebrate their anniversary on October 16th, and another for the October 17th anniversary of John G. and Ken W. Congratulations to these wonderful couples. We light a candle of joy from John W. and Molly B. for their cousin Margaret, who was diagnosed with bladder and lung cancer. She was treated at the start with 4 months of chemo, followed by 2 years of immunotherapy. Her scan results indicate the bladder tumor is virtually gone and the lung cancer improvement is significant enough to declare victory. We light a candle for Annabelle G., who was with her mother and father in France. Her father started receiving treatment for a brain tumor 3 weeks ago. He is responding well and recovering some ability to walk. She's happy to be at his side, along with Joachim, who has adapted well to French school and who lost his first tooth last weekend. They are happy that Michael will be joining them there soon. We light a candle of concern for Chuck S.'s dad, who has COVID. He is a 90-year-old social butterfly who lives at Moose Haven. At present, his symptoms are controllable. Please hold Chuck, Julie, and Chuck's dad in your hearts. We light a candle for a great joy for Joni and Cliff M's family. Their daughter Callie and her husband Trevor welcomed their second son, Dalton James B., born on October 3rd at 1:30 a.m., weighing 7 pounds, 13 ounces. Mom and baby are doing well. We light a candle for Claudia M., who is doing heroic work coordinating UU the Vote. Her dedication and leadership are joyful additions to our congregation. We light a candle of joy for Socktober, our annual sock collection for the homeless, which is going on all month. Check out the journey and this week at BBUUC email to find out how to make this successful community service effort. For the joys shared, we join you in celebration. For the sorrows and concerns spoken here, may you feel our sympathy and compassion. For all that remains unspoken, both joy and sorrow, may the caring of our community offer you both kindness and hope.
Sit by my side, tell me your story. I want to learn how you became you. I want to see the world as you see it. I want to walk a mile in your
are as many coming out stories as there are people who live them. Some just knew from a very early age. Others had a sense that they felt something different, but had no way to give a name to it for years. Some burst out of the closet singing, "I am what I am" at the top of their lungs, and others tentatively opened the door, peeked, and quietly closed it shut again. Others were late bloomers, in my case, very late bloomers. I had no earthly idea this was even a possibility for me. There was no curiosity during my life, no wondering or wishful thinking, no repressed, suppressed, or any other kind of pressed urges. I was in a traditional marriage with a man, 2 children, a dog, and everything but the white picket fence for 18 years. And then it was over. During the divorce, I had a lesbian friend who was clear she would like to have a romantic relationship with me, but that was not something that was going to happen. After all, I didn't wear Izod shirts. I don't even like Birkenstocks. But it turned out that I was open to being in a relationship with a woman. My coming out day process was not a day, but quite a long journey. However, the day I began that relationship, I felt fear. I understood discrimination firsthand in that regard. I encountered doubt about my mental state from my family and friends. I lost family and friends. I feared losing my younger daughter legally, a distinct possibility at the time. And for a time, my older daughter needed to create distance from me. However, ultimately, the process led me to Cindy, and I found the home my heart was searching for. And by the way, I never lost legal custody, and my older daughter and I are just fine. I still don't wear Izod shirts, nor do I like Birkenstocks, and that's okay. Just like any other community of people, we are a coat of many colors and stripes. And although today celebrates Coming Out Day from the LGBTQ perspective, please remember that many others have their hands on closet doors that have various other labels on them that they fear to open and exit. I encourage us all to remind ourselves, no matter how scary the other side of that self-imposed closet door might be, closets are very dark and lonely places. Our church community is what we make it. During this time, we are especially reminded that BBUUC is more than a building, as wonderful as ours is. It is each of us who make up this congregation, our members and friends. Whether we gather in person or in spirit virtually, we remain focused on our mission. We can't pass the plate in person right now. However, we can accept your virtual offering via the church's PayPal Giving Fund link found on our YouTube page. Thank you for continuing to fulfill your pledge commitment, which supports the church's operating budget. The virtual plate offering will be directed to benefit BBUUC's Rainbow Welcoming Ministry, which encourages acceptance of, understanding of, and respect for LGBTQ identity. Your offering will support this ministry, including its major fall project, a collection of food, clothing, and hygiene items for the Northeast Florida AIDS Network, also known as NFAN, which provides services and support to help reduce suffering of people living with HIV/AIDS. It will also go to assist Jasmine, a local nonprofit that serves Jacksonville LGBTQ youth community. Please give what you are able to this very important work. On behalf of this church, which is the people, we thank you for your generosity.
This morning, I want to share with you the story of Annette Marquis. She is a Unitarian Universalist and a leader in her congregation, her district, and the Unitarian Universalist Association. In the book Coming Out in Faith, Voices of LGBTQ Unitarian Universalists, Marquis shares her experience as a lesbian growing up in the Catholic faith and later discovering Unitarian Universalism. When she was 18 years old and attending a Catholic high school, a nun discovered that she and another student had a romantic relationship. The nun sent Annette to the library to read about how homosexuality was a sin. The nun also told Annette's parents. Annette's mother believed she must have committed some past transgressions, and her daughter's homosexuality was a punishment for those transgressions. I can only imagine the pain and the grief Annette must have experienced at that stage in her life, knowing that a core part of her identity was rejected so strongly by her family and her faith community. Annette attended college, and she was relieved to find other lesbians there. She read as many books as she could find about lesbianism. She found acceptance and understanding of her identity. Annette felt a pull towards religion and spirituality. That was an important part of who she was, but she didn't feel at home in the Catholic Church anymore. She heard there was a cool lesbian minister at the local Unitarian church, so she and her partner decided to check it out. She writes, "Something changed the day we attended that service at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Flint. Maybe it was the lesbian minister. I know I would not have gone if she hadn't been there. Maybe it was the brokenness I felt, living such a fragmented life. Maybe it was my growing need for spiritual community. Maybe it was the breath of the Holy Spirit. I don't know what it was for sure, but something drew me in and captured my soul. What astounded me was that I could be out as a lesbian and we could be out as a couple in a predominantly straight environment. We could go to church, hold hands, and share our lives in a public way. It was transformational." Annette's story demonstrates how painful it can be for someone who is a lesbian to be outed when they are a member of a conservative, traditional religious community. Of course, many religious leaders teach that homosexuality is a sin, and this causes incredible harm and damage and pain to LGBTQ folks in those religions. Annette's story also shows how liberating it is for some members of the LGBT community when they encounter Unitarian Universalism for the first time. She discovered a religious community where she could be her authentic self in the open, and it was transformative. Today, October 11th, is National Coming Out Day. It's a day to support and celebrate members of the LGBTQIA+ community who have come out or are coming out of the closet. LGBTQIA+ stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual. And the plus acknowledges additional identities. In this sermon, when I say LGBTQ, I am referring to all of the identities named in the acronym and all those identities beyond the acronym. As Donna said so well in her reflection, members of the LGBTQ community have diverse perspectives and understandings of the idea of coming out. Jade Sylvan, a Unitarian Universalist who is in the process of becoming an ordained minister, writes the following on the Unitarian Universalist Association LGBTQ Welcome and Equality blog. Anyone who comes out or has come out and who wants to be celebrated for it is worthy of that celebration. At the same time as we celebrate those who identify as out, let us acknowledge and hold space for the many LGBTQ+ folks who have not and may not ever feel as though coming out is the right choice for them. You do not need to do anything to become LGBTQ+. You do not need to come out to be yourself. You are sacred, valid, and beautiful, just as you are right now. Unitarian Universalist communities, at their best, affirm, welcome, and celebrate members of the LGBTQ community. Our theological heritage offers a framework to affirm the worth and dignity of people with diverse gender identities and sexual orientations. This theological heritage is rooted in the history of the Unitarians and the Universalists in the United States throughout our history. In the 19th century, there were competing religious ideas about the nature of humanity. The dominant conservative Christian understanding of humanity was that humans were inherently sinful and needed God's grace to be saved. Unitarians and Universalists provided alternative, more life-giving and life-affirming understandings of human nature. Unitarians taught that each person holds a spark of the divine within themselves, and they have the potential to grow in likeness to God throughout their life. Universalists taught that God is a loving God and loves all people unconditionally. A loving God would never condemn anyone to hell for eternity, and so the Universalists taught that all souls would be saved and experience heaven in the afterlife. Both traditions offered more liberating understandings of Christian doctrines, and both were limited in scope. At those times, women, people of color, people who weren't heterosexual, and people with other marginalized identities were still viewed as having less worth than straight white men. But even though their views were flawed, they pointed in the direction of the beloved community, where people with diverse identities are honored, affirmed, and have access to the resources they need to thrive in the world. Unitarian Universalist congregations have made a lot of progress when it comes to affirming and welcoming members with LGBTQ identities. There are a lot of accomplishments to celebrate. The theologies of the Unitarians and the Universalists can be seen in our first Unitarian Universalist principle. We covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. This provides a basis for congregations to be welcoming and inclusive of members of the LGBTQ community. It provides a basis for the work of Unitarian Universalists across the country in social justice efforts to support LGBTQ individuals, efforts like marriage equality and countering discrimination in the workforce. Honoring the worth and dignity of every person calls us to resist the movements in society to oppress, harm, and marginalize LGBTQ people. Unitarian Universalist congregations, at their best, are places of shelter from the oppressive forces of homophobia and transphobia in the wider world. They are places where we reject narratives that queer folks have less worth than straight and cisgender people. They are places where we work so that people with marginalized identities are fully included in congregational life. Annette Marquis, a lesbian, had a transformational healing experience when she encountered Unitarian Universalism, because members of the congregation she found had worked really hard to make it a welcoming and inclusive congregation. In 2019, the Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church provided shelter against the forces of hate and homophobia in Jacksonville. As you know, the Willow Branch Library organized a Pride Prom for LGBTQIA+ teens. A conservative mommy blogger encouraged her followers to express your disgust that this perversion is taking place in a taxpayer-funded library. The language is so hateful. It causes so much pain and harm to LGBTQ people It is oppressive language. She encouraged her followers to call the library and complain, and the library canceled the event. The Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church offered to host the prom and hosted it the very same night it was originally scheduled. You countered the forces of homophobia in your community. You showed love, care, and compassion for the LGBTQ youth in your community. A lot of progress has been made in Unitarian Universalist congregations to be more welcoming to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities. And there is still a long road ahead of us. There is an organization called Trust that supports and advocates for trans UU religious professionals. The acronym stands for Transgender Religious Professional Unitarian Universalists Together. In 2018, Trust and the UU Multicultural Ministries Office conducted a survey of trans Unitarian Universalists. The survey found that 72% of trans UUs do not feel as though their congregation is completely inclusive of them as trans people. The statistic shows that there is still a lot of work to be done in embodying the beloved community in our congregations. In addition, the UU Welcoming Congregations program notes that bisexual UUs suffer from invisibility, while asexual, intersex, and polyamorous communities are wrestling with a progressive faith that does not privilege their truth. Unitarian Universalism offers a vision of beloved community where LGBTQ people are affirmed and fully included in congregational life. It is up to us to engage in education, advocacy, and activism so that we can bring this vision of beloved community to be in the world. You are doing this work now with the Rainbow Welcoming Ministry. Thank you. You are doing this work as you engage in the 5 practices of Welcome Renewal, a program of the Unitarian Universalist Association to renew understanding about LGBTQ issues and learn about the current needs and concerns of LGBTQ people. Thank you for your ministry of welcoming, affirming, and including people of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities. On this Coming Out Day, I invite us to celebrate with LGBTQ folks who have come out of the closet. I invite us to honor and acknowledge those who remain in the closet. I invite us to ponder the many diverse understandings of what it means to come out. On this day, may we reflect on the ways Unitarian Universalist theology can support a liberating understanding of sexual orientation and gender identity. Let us grieve and lament for the ways LGBTQ people are still harmed by transphobia and homophobia, both within the walls of our congregations and in the wider world. Let us recommit ourselves to the work of creating communities where members of the LGBT community are fully affirmed, welcomed, and included. May it be so. Amen.
Hi, everybody. Here's a song. I wrote it a long time ago. It's had a big journey around the world. Whenever I sing it, I think of the words of the Buddhist nun Pema Chodron, who says, "We were not born into original sin, we were born with original soft spot." And the irrational things that we often do to ourselves or to each other comes from a misguided effort to protect original soft spot. And we are definitely experiencing the soft spot of the whole world these days. So I wanted to send it out to everybody, every background, every country, every species, everybody. Sing along if you know it. It's called How Could Anyone? It's a pretty simple song. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole. How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Our closing words today are written by Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other. Our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues until we are together again, friends. Be strong, be well, be true, be loving. Go in peace.